The big red one.
Fuck,
Well,
the
big red button has been pressed, and we're live. Well, not live. We're recording anyway, and people
We're
can see our
live.
faces.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, we're doing this properly, boys.
Great start.
Just because we got video doesn't mean that we're scripted at all. So, anyway, Liam, I think it's your line next, isn't it? One of your 4 for the episode.
I have a line?
Well, you
Shit, that's it. He's done for the episode. Fuck.
Yeah, he's covered. Well, we have faces. It's 2023. It's our second attempt at doing this. We are 0 to 60, and we're very kindly. I mean, to be fair, I might as well call him a co-host at this point. He's on to regular. Mr. Minds, Arms himself is here.
I wouldn't be a co-host if you made more fucking content. Like the only reason I'm a co-host and I'm here as often as you are is because you don't even make that many episodes.
No, that's true. We go for quality over quantity, and we still fail at that miserably most of the time.
I was gonna say, so where the fuck's the quality?
Wow, it's okay for us to make that joke. I mean, come on.
I'm not allowed to make that joke.
Well, we're back in. To be fair, I think we've got a fair few bits to cover since. So since we initially went to record this, we were going to talk about Outsiders with the release article and the dual class stuff and a bit about PT Baltimore. We had a couple of issues, so we then got a couple of PQs in between now and then we're like, oh, we'll cover off what we potentially might get banned and suspended, and then they went and dropped that a few days early. So we've got a shit ton to cover off, boys and girls. So
we do.
I mean, what do we want to start with? I guess Outsiders was the first thing that we actually had announced. So
Yeah, we might be a bit late to this one now, I guess, but
we'll cover
there's
it
no
quick.
harm in going over it quickly.
yeah, I mean, got the announcement. So it's going to be 3 classes, 6 heroes. Our 3 classes are Ranger, Assassin, and Ninja. We're going to have some dual class cards. We've got some returning heroes and some new heroes. So Ninja, I think, was a bit of a surprise, but fits in with some of the lore. As we get Benji and Katsu returning for an outing, and that's a full reprint on both by the looks of things so far. Assassin, we get a brand new assassin in Uzuri, and we get a brand new young only Arachne and then Ranger, George's favourite. He gets Azalea in a complete standard reprint.
All my dreams have been, kind of largely ignored, which is great.
It's fine. It gives you a chance to get those blue Sikkim shots out again.
I
Yeah.
cannot wait. Like, I guarantee in like 6 months there is a podcast episode that goes out where we're like, man, I'm fucking sick of Azalea. I cannot wait for the podcast episode where we're all like, they fucking broke it. They realized they undertuned her in Arcane Rising, so they actually just printed this arrow that says, if it hits, steal your opponent's wallet and fuck their wife. Like,
Please, yes, let's go. Let's do this. I'm ready for Azalea to be broken as fuck.
I'm so ready.
And we also got a new hero in Riptide, which for anyone who's ever played Azalea and ever attempted to play these things called traps, which are potentially the worst implemented mechanic in the game, at least in my opinion, he will be a trap-based ranger.
I fuck with Riptide. I can't wait.
But his artwork,
I so hope it make him good.
I mean, he's got an anchor, he's got heads on his thing, he's like breathing green smoke. He's got a bionic arm.
He looks pretty badass, but he also looks ill as fuck.
Oh, that man is sick. That man needs to see a doctor.
I think he might be beyond that, to be perfectly honest.
Something. I am the law. Fuck medical care. Like, just let's go. This hero makes me so excited, and I know people all know I have a soft spot for heroes with wonky life totals anyway. But like, traps are cool as shit. Ranger's cool as shit. Like, I'm so ready to like just love everything this hero does, and I'm really excited for it.
Yeah,
I can't wait to play the truly terrible traps they come out with in the next day. It's going to be spectacular.
Imagine if it's just reprints of the old ones, but cold foil, a bit like they did with hyperdrivers.
That'd be so fucking funny.
I will very much enjoy dying with a rockfall trap in my hand and being like, why the fuck did I even bother?
Yeah, name a more iconic duo: Rockfall Trap and My Hand.
And death.
General death. But no,
in my hand.
So obviously it means draft's going to be very different, far more akin to Tales, but then even drafting into classes You're going to have a choice of 2 heroes. And
I cannot wait for this draft experience. Like, it is easily the most exciting. The only reason I want to qualify for the goddamn PT is for a competitive draft. Like, this format sounds so cool, where I can be in a hero, but you still don't know what hero I'm drafting because I have multiple options, and that's so sweet to me.
Yeah.
Are we
It
still on?
sounds spectacular.
Are we still on 14 card packs, or have they gone back to 15?
Yeah, 14 card packs. Yeah.
Yeah, sadly 2 tokens.
But
We think the hybrid nature of cards in this set might help fix some of Uprising's problems. So, like, if you're able to pick hybrid cards early, like you did, the element cards in Tails, you're not going to have to feel like you've got to be in a hero by pick 4, pick 5, pick 6, like you did in Uprising. Because if you've got 2, like, Assassin Ranger hybrid cards as your first 2 picks, that's still 4 fucking heroes you can play them in.
Yeah, so I think a large part of that will depend on how many of the hybrid cards we have, whether they just end up being the Majestics, or whether we end up seeing commons and rares that are hybrid too. I don't know if we've seen anything further than just the singular hybrid card.
I think the article says it said hybrid cards, and 3 of the most powerful are going to get this new treatment they're doing on. It's the 3 codexes, which
The Marvel treatment. So I think it's pretty simply cut. Like, the limited format gets better for every single hybrid card you have, and the constructed format probably gets worse for every single hybrid card you have. So the balance is going to be pretty fine, I think.
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it. I mean, I think we're all sick of Uprising Draft. It was new and exciting when all we had was Tails.
Disagree. Format was exemplary. What are you on about?
What an idiot.
That's the second of Liam's scripted lines.
I know. I mean, I quite enjoyed that format towards the end. No idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, just play Icelander. It's fine.
Still doesn't make it
Easy,
that
yeah. Just draft like best deck I've ever seen. At Worlds.
Yeah,
Easy.
I mean, to be fair, I wasn't really drafting Uprising at that point. I was just drafting Icelander. It's a different story entirely.
No, you weren't drafting. You were just making a Blitz deck.
Somebody just passed you a fully formed Blitz deck. That was all it was.
Did. But I think the sad truth is, for Uprising, like, it had its problems, and one of those problems was that a lot of people just didn't realize Dromai was the best deck in that format. So there was a pretty warped perception of it. But I'm not sad to see the back of it as much as I joke.
No.
So if this new draft set sucks, right, can we put it down to 14 card packs?
Maybe.
Probably, yeah. Fuck it.
I mean, I do prefer more cards per pack that aren't just tokens, but.
Man, if this draft set sucks, I'm probably done, because this fundamentally sounds like it should be fantastic from a draft perspective. You've diversified the heroes, you've given us hybrid cards, you've done everything that should make a draft set more exciting and more unique to draft, and I'm so excited, legitimately foaming at the mouth to draft this set. And if it's bad, oh my god, I'm going to be angry.
Yeah, I think everyone will be. But like I say, I mean, the other thing we've got obviously with that is we mentioned the Codex cards, which are very different. I mean, before Scott says it'll look like a piece during a Jack of Spades when you pull it out your deck.
Leave my taglines alone.
We enjoy them here, mate. But
I know you do.
They do look very different.
Yeah, we've talked about this a few times. I think I think the artwork is stunning. I think it's very, very pretty. But it doesn't look like a fab card, and I'm getting a little concerned about how much the Marvels are going to contrast with each other from set to set, to the point where I can draw a hand in my deck and it could be 4 different card games, and that's kind of my concern. But I don't mind this too much if they keep it to a minimum. We've got 3 Marvels this set only. They're likely only going to be in a small subsection of classes. If that's the case, I don't think it matters too much. But if we're at the point where Illusionist suddenly has 6 different sets of Marvels and they all look from wildly different places, I don't want to play a game against that, because it's just not easy to understand what's happening in the game or follow what's happening when cards look so startlingly different.
No, I can agree with that. And one last thing on Outsiders as well. It doesn't look like we've actually got a talent either, so all these heroes we've seen so far are talentless.
Get fucked, Tales of Aria.
Yeah. How's that? And in the same announcement, obviously we found out the PT is in Baltimore. Some people were quite excited about crabs and crab legs. Some people were really upset about crime.
Well, that's our new segment done.
Yeah, that was the bluntest way I've heard anyone put that. It's Baltimore. Some people were happy about crabs. Some people were upset about the chance of getting shot. Like,
I
it
mean,
just.
we went to New York with Charlie and we didn't get shot.
To be
That
fair,
was a
we
close
came
shave
fucking
though.
close. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, what are you on about?
Yeah, it was far closer than we'd have liked, but we managed it. So I think, regardless of if you qualify, I think we said it. I think we said it in our previous attempt at recording this. Fab's not the big enough, a huge game yet to be able to go to all these premier destinations every single time. But wherever the event is, as long as it's not in a big tent, I think people will be at least happier than they were in San Jose.
I said this last time around. Like, Pokemon thought it was okay to run a regional championship for children in Baltimore. It's probably going to be fine. Just be savvy about yourself. Keep your fucking hands on your pockets. Don't go into the dangerous areas. Do your homework beforehand. And just like anywhere else, you'll likely be absolutely fine.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think it's a major problem. Maybe Bolton's worse than I'm imagining, but as far as I know, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So.
And then we weren't going to talk about PQ season because it wasn't started by the time we started this, but we've had a couple now. Two weekends worth. It started off with Leeds with a battle hardened on the Saturday. Well, technically there was a super armory, but no one cares about super armories.
That event was apparently really cool.
Was it?
I'm
sure it was.
Credit's due. Yeah, the team commoner Super Armory was apparently a lot of fun. They had like 30 teams or something.
Wow.
Like they had a lot of players down there, and apparently it was a really good time. So I've not touched commoner since they fucking took away Belittle. But I hear people had a really good time. So fair play.
Yeah, I haven't played Commoner either, but to be fair, I'm always down for a team event. So it's a bit of a shame that we weren't free for that one, with it being on the Friday. But yeah, obviously none of us attended, I don't believe so.
Then so it was the battle hardened, then it was the PQ. We'll go on. Then we had York the weekend after that, and then the coming weekend we've got Fanboy, so we get to just stay in Manchester. But I think Liam, you can
stay in Manchester.
We can stay in Manchester.
You get to come and visit. 5 a.m. It's another fucking 5 a.m. train, man. I'm so sick. Like, I realized the other day, like, I'm going to be finishing work at like 11 in the evening again, and being like, oh boy, time for me to go ride the death train in the morning. It never ends.
The death train. I thought that was what they called the train into Blackpool, not the train out.
Yeah, probably fair. But like, no, I'm upset we don't have more of a PQ season. I want more events to compete at. Yeah. But like, I can feel the toll of the last 2 weekends on my body already, and I'm like, oh god, lord, these 5 o'clock starts are like heavy.
Yeah, I mean,
they are adding up with me.
I mean, I'm
very much looking forward to the Lion.
I mean, after York, we were very much considering a 2.5 hour car drive the next day before we even got back, and it was very close to us saying, yeah, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, it was very close.
You know, after that event, we were also up for winning an invite based on how, spoilers, you know, the events have been going, that it was like, we must have been feeling it to actually turn around and say no, because blood was in the air.
Yeah, I think we all wanted a piece of the action. So let's start with the Battle Hardened York. I guess, Liam, you had a bit of a day that day.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, was it? It was a fucking long day, though. Jesus Christ! What time did we get up, George? It was like, did we leave 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock?
Yeah, it would have been about that. I think half 6. Yeah.
4 in the morning.
Oh goodness me!
Oh Jesus Christ! I feel so bad for you, Scott.
Oh jeez.
It's the nature of being where I am, right? I got to deal with it for a little while longer. But yeah, the starts are pretty brutal.
Yeah, I won't go into too much detail, but I ended up starting Swiss 6-0 on Oldham. Pretty much like the only deck I know how to play at this point. Lost my last 2 rounds of Swiss, but made it in on 8th, I believe it was.
You did indeed.
Queued into Matt Folks, who was 8-0 undefeated on Icelander for the quarterfinal match. Basically robbed him in broad daylight for a win to get into the top 4 for the semis.
That's one way of putting it.
And then, unfortunately, lost to Fred Bird in the semis in the Oldham Mirror match because his deck was built for the Mirror and mine was not.
I mean, he went on to win the whole event, didn't he, as well?
He did, to be fair. I lost 2 games that day. No, I lost 3 games that day. One was to a top 8er, and the other 2 were the two finalists. So it wasn't too bad of a day. Fucking long, because we got out at like 9:45, I think we left Leeds.
Yeah, it's something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was a long day.
I mean, then I know obviously them very sensibly, rather than getting home, going straight to bed. You boys came back to mine where there was a kebab waiting for you, and then we proceeded to stay up and talk for the next hour and a half, 2 hours.
We didn't just talk, did we?
Oh no! There was bullying involved, and what bullying it was.
Peer pressured me into making one of the best decisions I've ever made.
So go on. I mean, you've managed to gain some notoriety, Scott, for something that's made both me and Liam particularly sad at local armories due to a certain Adam Maxwell.
Me? Notorious? Never. No, I bathe in fucking infamy. Yeah, so, to be fair, the Battle Hardened wasn't too bad for me, sadly. I started 5-1 and then forgot how to play against Bravo for several rounds in a row, which was great. But then got bullied the following night, which was a pretty typical experience around these boys. They just bully me relentlessly. It's basically never ending.
Bully everyone.
Yeah, but me with a little bit more love. It's kind of nice.
I think so.
But yeah, they knew. So for those who might not be familiar, the top 8 of the Battle Hardened was like 5 Iyslander, 3 Oldhim. It was like, welcome to fucking Frozen. Like this is a nightmare. Like it's really slow, really glacial, really icy. And I've had a pet project deck I've been working on for like 2-ish months, maybe a little longer, that was built to beat that room, but can never ever beat Fi. I'm of course talking about Iris Dremai, which is a deck that I took to top 4 of the PQ the following day. And that was basically the gamble that I took. I was like, okay, well, I don't think I want to do this. I want to have a good shot winning the PQ. And the lads basically went, lol, no balls, build the deck, you idiot. And I did. And then I played it because I have no self-control. But it was great. Thankfully, lost round 1 and then just didn't lose until the top 8. Well, top 4, actually, sorry. Ran from 0-1 to 7-1. All the way through, and then managed to beat Tom Hall in the quarterfinals on Bravo on camera, which is quite funny. And then unfortunately hit the only Fi left in the event to lose in the top 4, which was a bit of a shame given the Christmas Land run that had taken place prior to it. But of course, that Fi went on to win, so same kind of experience as Liam there, losing to the eventual winner the previous day. And what did I get for my hassle, you might ask? Well, 160 person PQ, really big deal, right? Pricing must be pretty great. I got a play mats with sleeves and £75 worth of store credit for my £35 entry fee. It was a bit shit.
You didn't even get one of the lovely little resource tokens, did you?
No, I fucking didn't. Like, okay, you incite this rage in me now, right? I currently have 2 packs of Soraya sleeves from 2 events. I've topped every PQ I've played this season. Do I have a single resource counter? Nope. Thankfully, I already have one, but why do I suddenly not get one because I top 8'd? It's the stupidest thing.
I mean, I know I was going to come on to the general pricing because there's been a lot of people talking on Twitter, Discord around the state of the pricing. Obviously, I think the PQ in Leeds is probably the most egregious example, but in previous years there's been cold foil heroes, there's been all sorts of additional pricing put on additional packs. But for the PQ, a lot of stores seem to not be doing additional pricing. I think we got 2 packs on entry of Dynasty, and then the top 24 got a resource token, and like I say, then you get into top 8 and you get a little bit of store credit and some sleeves until you actually win the thing.
No, I'll go on the record about this thing because I've said it vocally to a few people now. LR added that store credit to the top 8 at the very, very last minute because they realized they were making too much goddamn money and people were starting to notice. But prior to that credit being added, and even after that credit got added, I made better pricing and got more value from a £20 PQ with 32 players that I entered in York than I got for making top 4 of a 160 person PQ in Leeds. The price support was disgusting and they should be embarrassed.
I don't think anyone's going to disagree with you on that. I mean,
yeah.
Sorry, go on, George.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone can argue with that. I mean, it was terrible, and I think it's worth saying as well. They added obviously this extra pricing and made it worse in many ways. You know, we're talking of a 170 person player event, and they decide to add to the top 8 pricing they don't give anything for the rest of for anything below that apart from what LSS provides them.
You got your 2 packs for entry, and barring that, you got the same shit if you finish from 9th to 161st. Like, what the fuck?
And this was a real downgrade from like the previous year when we had the battle hardened in Leeds, and they gave significant numbers, like a decent number of packs for based on your result at the end, which was great. It felt like it gave you a reason to keep playing. I mean, I felt like after my day in the battle hardened, I wasn't going to make the top 8, so it was like, do you know what? I'm going to play a game or 2 more, have a bit of a good time, and then I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to drop. There's no reason for me to play this last game. There's nothing to play for anymore. Because I've taken 2 losses, that writes me out completely. And yeah, that's it. I'm done. I might as well just why bother keep playing?
It's ridiculous. In previous years, LR have done a fantastic job at running events, both at the store and when they've done it at the armories. Whether it's additional packs or throwing additional bits and pieces in. This just felt like a cash grab. It felt really bad. And you just saw people, as soon as they'd lost 2, because it was 8 rounds, and if you lost 2 and they weren't the last 2 rounds, you were probably dead. So you could have been dead by round 3, and it's the price of attending's gone up. Also, for most people, the price of attending these things has gone up just in terms of the inflation, cost of living. To not get any reward, even if it's just a pack per win, even that would have made people feel slightly more better to it. But it's genuinely made me think differently around attending LR events in the future.
Yeah, and obviously I don't have the full details, but obviously knowing that they had trouble getting people to judge the event because of the level of compensation they got on that as well, it starts to be a bit of a pattern here that they're not really giving that much back that they're getting in for this. And, don't get me wrong. Apart from that, the actual event itself ran very smooth. I personally, from my perspective, don't think I had any problems, but you just didn't get enough back from that at all. The pricing was truly horrific.
It's just a horrible disappointment. Like, the sad truth is, if I'd attended the PQ in York the following week at EH and the prize support had been equally terrible, part of me sits there and goes, okay, maybe everyone's really fucking hard up right now. Maybe there's no support from LSS. Maybe people are providing this stuff themselves, barring the resource counters and whatever. Like, they're doing the best with what they can, and I'm glad they're still running events. That wasn't the case. It wasn't even close. As I said, my prizes for top 4 of a 32-man event were better, actually just better, than the top 4 of a 160-person event. Which is outrageous.
I think it should also, as much as we're throwing the shit at LR, I think we should actually point out how good the event was at York. And give credit where it's due to Ross. He always runs a fantastic event. I know we always want to make the effort to go there, whether it's the little spot prize he does, makes the day genuinely tick over.
That's exactly my point, though, right? I 100% credit to Ross. Couldn't agree with you any more than I do currently. Like, the guy is running a fantastic show over there at EH, and you should stop by and play his events if you aren't already. But that's kind of my main critique, I guess, is like, why on earth would you ever play a fucking LR event?
No.
If that's the option that you have available to you, right? If you want to play a PQ, you shouldn't be actively punished for wanting to play more than one, and you shouldn't end up having to compete with everybody to play the one good one without terrible fucking prize support. It's when these events are being capped because places can't hold any more than 32 players or whatever the rationale might be. You've just got people being turned away at the door from the only events that don't have awful prize support. And if you want to play, you have to play the 160-player one that isn't capped with god-awful price support. Like, how you don't win in that scenario?
I'm hoping, because I think, even for the top 8, I think previous, like say, cold foils, that sort of thing, the sleeves just feel like a shit price to get anyway. And I'm not a fan. I'm not a particular fan of getting sleeves. It's on top of other things, fine, but I think LR needs to have a serious look at what they did that weekend and think about why they've done it. I've heard, their army's down on numbers. Obviously, previous, I think it was the RTN season. I know they ran it at the same time as one of the Manchester events, which then was under-attended because people wanted to do the LR ones because they previously had done a good job. Whether that now happens in the future and people were willing to go up to there rather than Manchester, I don't think I would.
Yeah, I know. For me, I'm not going to prioritize going to LR events. You know, if it's the only available one I really want, whatever the prize is, like the invite or whatever, then sure. But I mean, I'm definitely not going to be picking there when there's another viable alternative.
It's just such a shame.
It really is.
It's
It
just
is,
a
yeah.
shame.
Because they've gone from being one of the premier hosts, obviously did the first Nats, to honestly, I wouldn't really want to go up there and go about it. But like I say, on a more positive note, I think York was a fantastic event. Ross deserves all the credit, and you should try and check out his events when you can. Really fun events and little spot prizes for each round. And then we've got Fanboy this weekend, so a bit more of a local one. Sorry, Scott.
Yeah, at least for us anyway.
It's as local as it fucking gets for me anyway. So it's not the end of the
Eventually,
world.
we'll get you over this side of the train tracks. So
I'm sure you will, but
I hope.
yeah, it's been good results for the squad all around. To be honest, we've all been doing a pretty good job at making top cuts and making a name for ourselves over the course of these events. It's just hoping that this is unfortunately the final shot for one of us to take it home, because we keep missing by inches.
Yeah, I mean, obviously York. We've not really gone into the actual results, but man, I think you can say that this podcast had a fairly good showing, and Manchester in general.
Oh,
Yeah,
for sure,
you look at that top 8 photo, and it's like, well, we know everybody in it. And it's pretty damning to the rest of the room when you're like, well, yeah, everyone here is a local, which is
I'm pretty sure nearly the entire top 8 was made up of 2 cars. It was ours, and then I think everyone who came with Rob, Layla, and
2.5, I guess, right? Because Ash is not in our car, but he's still a local. So like,
that is true. Yes,
it's call it 2.5 cars if you will, but it's like Rob and his lot's car, and then like our car plus the people that would be in our car if we had more space, kind of thing,
yes.
you know. So it's
exactly.
It's definitely something when you have quite a showing like that. So yeah, I mean, the north of England not to be messed with right now. They are putting on a show.
And obviously, George, you top forward?
Top 8 did that one.
Top 8.
Yes, yeah.
And then Scott top 4, and then obviously Liam unfortunately went a step further, but saving it for this weekend.
I've made a pact with the devil at this point. I'm just making top 4 of every PQ this season, every single one. I want nothing but 3 packs of sleeves to show for my fucking consistency.
That's all you need, just those sleeves, mate. They'll be
you reckon if I turn up in Baltimore? No, you reckon if I turn up in Baltimore with 3 packs of Soraya sleeves, they'll let me in?
No.
No, it's worth a go.
God, you have to just shoot the man's dreams. Like, say, I hope so, at least.
Nah, man.
Just tell him yes, then he'll go on there.
How many packs of sleeves get me a PTI? Mr.
Too
White.
many.
Way too many. Way too many fucking packs of sleeves.
How many resource opening sleeves can I hand in for this, please?
I can't give him any resource tokens.
I was going to say, he hasn't got any of those.
But no, and I mean, obviously, you look at the meta shakedown generally of where we've gone. There's been a lot of ice in Icelander, Oldham, and then Fi's running rampant. But it seemed a bit more diverse, you know, globally, looking at the results. So, I mean, obviously, the meta's going to change significantly because we're going to go on to the banned and suspended announcement, and obviously, we've got Outsiders coming up. I don't know, it seemed like a fairly open PQ season.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely been some diversity, right? Both in terms of the heroes that have shown up, and I mean, there's been some fairly diverse top 8s. Though I know, obviously, Oldham was the major standout in terms of conversion, at least. He wasn't necessarily the most represented hero, but I think he's converted the most to top 8s, and I think even wins of all of them. So he's been. Although there's been some diversity in the meta, I think he's probably the best deck, I think, out there right now. Obviously,
like an early look at week 2's data, he was kind of had like a commanding lead on win conversion percentages. Yeah. So like the Oldhams that made the top 8 were normally the ones who won the event.
It's okay, Liam. You've still got this weekend.
Oh man, it hurts so bad. Fucking hell, man.
I did say normally.
I've lost to like 2 Fis in like less 2 months, and they both came in winning in a final. It sucks so bad.
But I mean, obviously, looking at what then came in abandoned, suspended. So it got brought forward from the 30th to the 25th.
I'm very curious as to why that was, to be honest.
So their
It's
reasoning...
for the indie call. The
Yes.
Indianapolis calling is why they want to give people time to prepare.
Because obviously
Makes sense.
it's still going into effect as of the 30th. They also said that the 30th was always designed to be a living legend check on Briar as well, but
Yeah.
it really doesn't like Briar's hit the heights.
No, she's not.
No, she is not going anywhere.
Buddy, she might be in better shape now after these restrictions, but holy crap, did that deck end up in the toilet in the face of these Ice Kingdom?
Well,
Like,
she's gone from the smashing people left, right, and centre to it's almost like with Prism where she just got there and they went, I'm just going to hang on and I'm going to keep around for a little bit. Because let's face it, we all just want to get rid of Rosetta. No one likes Rosetta.
It's so like mind blowing to me that we end up in these spots where like Starvo was just like, no, I'm so busted that I'm gonna get myself living legended by half again before I actually get living legended. He was at like 1,600 points, but by the time he actually got taken out of the format. And every other hero since Starvo has not gone out with a bang. They've just gone out with a horrifying whimper, as they've like had to try and nickel and dime their way over the line to score that final point. And you're just like, well, if it wins this event, it's gone. If it loses this event, it's legal for another 6 months. And it's like, how on God's green earth does this keep happening?
I suppose Chain didn't. He went at a fair clip when he eventually went, considering he's tried to survive around Starvo, but Prism hung around like a bad smell far too long, as much as you've tried to resurrect her, you nasty bastard.
Resurrected anybody. As much as if you keep looking on Twitter, people keep sending me photos of card alters where they've altered Dramai to be Prism on the card and like altered Spectral Shields to be Ashwings and vice versa. I'll have to send you some of the photos because people keep tagging me in all of these. It's so funny. They just like hacked up the young Prism card and like put the light shards behind Dromai, and I'm like, oh my god. My favourite was the Iris of Reality alter that just looks like Storm of Sandakai.
Brilliant. So, we also got the banned and restricted, banned and suspended, and we got 4 cards. So I think we can all talk about the first one. I'll then hand over to Scott because Amulet of Ice and Hypothermia were kind of more targeted at Icelander. And then Liam, I'll let you take the last card.
Wonderful.
You're welcome. I'm a nice guy like that.
It took me like 25 minutes after it had been banned to just remember you just bought a cold foil.
Oh, I know. I might have pointed that out, unfortunately, right in front of people at the Armory when we found out.
You pointed it out very quickly as well.
Yeah, it probably wasn't the best time. I'm almost sorry for that one, to be fair, Liam.
I mean, to be fair, I was feeling sorry for him with it until I paired him and then had to... so I wasn't playing him into this monstrosity he made. And I hit him with a 9th Blade with 87 rune chance, and that wasn't lethal. At that point, you get what you deserve.
Yeah. It was quite something to watch.
That was a nuts game, to be fair.
I mean,
how the hell do you survive that?
Because I had 73 health when he did it, or 77 health when he did it.
What the fuck?
Yep.
It was
game.
It was
that's
like
going to be more common now. What? Getting rid of the hammer doesn't fucking change that.
It was.
No, it does not.
Life Gain Oldhim versus like OTK Viscerai, and it was just me up to 77, and he got to 87 rune chance, and then I survived it.
I heard a comment on fucking Twitter earlier on that Oldhim now becomes about being the forbidden Toot Toot recycle deck. It's like just an Imperial Horn remembrance deck, and I'm like,
no.
God no.
Like, this is what it's going to become.
It was 3 remembrances, and every remembrance went and got back the blessing of boring.
Patience.
Blessing of patience.
Blessing of boring. And it was just gain 3 life with each one.
Oh no, I got 2 Oakenolds back, remember?
Sorry. How could I forget you were running fused Oakenolds? But anyway,
I didn't want this.
Yes.
Give them the fucking hammer back, you idiots.
But back to the top of the list, I guess.
Yes. So the first thing I think we can all celebrate and rejoice in is Belittle got banned, but luckily, don't worry, Fies, you can still run Blue Minnowism. That's sticking around.
But let's say it. Thank fuck, it's finally gone. Because this one was overdue.
It was a matter of time, right? Like it's we've commented on. I think I've even commented on this on the podcast in the past. But like, it's a card that fundamentally broke what the game was about and broke the system in which we all have to follow to play the game. Like, it was always going to eventually reach a point where that was too problematic for the game to handle, and that time was finally now. So yeah, thank God that finally went.
Anything that fundamentally meant they could just get an extra blue, it meant, and I mean, I loved watching some of the people have an absolute meltdown on the Keyforge server. They deserve it.
Yes.
But the idea that they don't have to run as many blues because they just play the same minnowism so many times. I'm just so glad it's dead.
I'm not sad to see that.
I'm really not going to
one in the
miss it,
slightest.
to be honest. I think it was just a mistake to print the card. In general, is the way that it functions. I know you have to go through some deck building hoops and stuff to make it work, but just fundamentally, the card was a mistake in what it allows you to do, and it had to go.
I mean, especially in Fire, is it really a deck building restriction?
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's minor at best, right? They
minor
may
at best
decide.
is fair, yes.
Yeah, I think
But,
they may decide to side out some of their 4 attacks.
I actually think Fire ends up being a slightly better deck in the face of all these bannings overall, even without Belittle. So,
Yeah, quite possibly.
I mean, I think it just means that deck building wise, they're going to have to run more blues, and if they don't, they're going to have more hands that brick.
I actually just think the decks that they were worried about playing blues into got significantly worse, so it doesn't actually matter that much.
No, look at George Rogers' Nationals winning list, right? I think he had 8 blues and went up to 11 versus ice decks. That's fucking nothing.
I'm fairly certain now Fi just wins the aggro fights because he gets into a pissing war with Dash and Briar all the time, and I think he comes out on top of those. So
interesting. I thought.
I mean, this makes him worse into the disruption that he should be worse into on the whole. Yeah,
that's a good thing.
A fair whack of hit.
I very much agree that thank God he's now not got a free tool to play into the decks he should theoretically be bad into. It means that if he is, much better, there is an argument to play your Icelanders, your Oldims and stuff to have real counterplay into him, because your counterplay should actually work instead of you taking 8 damage to set up a Channel Lake Frigid and they tutor 2 blues and laugh as they bone you over a table. And that's great. That's fantastic. That's finally a thing that will be happening. But I do actually think the format looks better for Fi at the end of these bannings.
Oh yeah, for sure. It'd be nice to actually see Fi not have a normal turn into CLF just because he started with Belittle.
You don't have to tell me twice.
But important to note that it's just banned. It's not suspended until whenever the announcement is.
As it should be. Yeah, I think if you turn around and go, it's suspended until Fire reaches Living Legend, I'd have thought you don't understand why you're suspending the card in the first place. Fire isn't the issue. The card itself is the issue, and that's why you won't see a suspension of the card.
No.
Yeah, I think this is good to see. To be fair, it was a card that was coming up in way too many decks, and the deck building restrictions that people had to fit into it just turned out to be more than worth the payoff. So thank fuck it's
as
gone.
we said before, the problem is we're not a rotating game over here in Flesh and Blood. So the more cards you print, the more good attacks and cards you're happy to play you print that naturally have the reveal requirement of a Belittle. And at the point where you have so many cards you're happy to play that meet that requirement anyway, there's no longer a restriction.
But I mean, I wonder how close Art of War got in their thinking. Because that was one that I
don't think their eyes are even on it. I legitimately don't think they're even looking at Art of War.
I'm going to preach this until it finally goes.
I don't think they're looking at it either, to be honest.
Because it's the other side of it was what powers every single aggro deck, or it feels like it. I know there's some decks I actually played Kate on Levier, and you can see Art of War makes a huge difference there, being able to people be able to banish the 6. But
I think for the most part, Art of War is only really good in Fire at the moment. If we're talking mainstream decks, it's obviously good in Katsu, reasonable in Levier, but your Briars, your Dashes, they don't really care about this card. It is really go wide aggro where it's good, and I would argue the deck is pretty bad without it for the most part. I don't think it's even remotely on their radar. They've made it pretty clear they're happy to mention cards that they know people are talking about, that they're keeping their eyes on, and Art of War hasn't even come up in conversation. So
that's fair.
No, and I think they'll be quite happy to see how this hits Fi and where he ends up in the meta. Whether we see another Fire card on the chopping block, if he does turn out to be in a better place after all the bans, who knows? But I think this is a nice place to be at for now. That card, like as we said, said a couple of times, needed to go, and I think it's going to be in a better place for it.
So I think generally we're all happy with Belittle.
I think so.
Getting yeeted into the sun.
All happy with it. I'm sure we've all advocated for it.
I mean,
Liam, part of me's very tempted to play it this weekend just so that I can play with it one final time, but I'm not going to miss it.
I mean, Liam he's actually now resulted because he's run out of his word count for today. Of just giving us like gestures. This is what filming this actually does now. You can get away with it.
At least the audience will know he's still there. Yeah.
This is true. I mean,
he's not now quite... I can react to the camera, right, and not talk. It's great.
I mean, he's not quite gone full beanbag mode yet, I think, as you described it on Saturday.
Yeah.
But he is there.
Just in case. Let's move on to the two cards that were more aimed at Icelander. And obviously, George, yet again, your beloved Lexi takes a bit of collateral damage on one of these. Amulet of Ice.
She does, yeah. I'm a bit sad to see Amulet of Ice bite the dust, really. I don't think it fits into too many Lexi decks, but definitely for what I've played in the past of like a Gotal Death Dealer build, this is actually a significant hit for that, which is it's fine because it wasn't exactly ideal into the meta right now. But if we do end up in an aggro meta, not having that around until Icelander gets lost is a bit of a shame.
So both of these are just suspended until Icelander's gone. So obviously Amulet of Ice, suspended until Icelander disappears, and Hypothermia, which, my God, I am so happy that fucker's gone.
I can imagine as a Dory player, you very much are.
All of these made my heart sing.
There's quite a few decks that are going to be happy that Hypothermia's disappeared.
Yeah. Oh,
to be honest. Like,
that's
just
sure.
a small hit to Oldhim as much as it is to Icelander, so...
It's I think the biggest deal is how much it offers to Dash. I've
I've
got on the record a long time now about Hypothermia. The power of Hypothermia is not actually the card itself. The power of Hypothermia is that Hypothermia exists. You win so many games from your opponent having to respect Hypothermia and play around Hypothermia that you don't ever actually have to draw it. In fact, you don't even have to have it in your deck a lot of the time in matchups where it's like somewhat suspect. It's like, fine, but because your opponent just plays around it anyway. That doesn't happen anymore. Now there is no need to worry about Hypothermia's existence. And that's a really big deal for a lot of these, mostly Briar and Dash into Icelander specifically. Not having your whole turn shut down by one card from the arsenal means there are so many less clean tempo swings that Icelander can offer, and that's a really big deal.
Does this now actually open up the possibility as well for like Kodachis to be playable into Icelander? I mean, now that this isn't there as a punish to just end your turn the moment you swing one?
I don't think so. I think Emberblade ends up being a better card against Icelander anyway, to be honest.
Quite possibly.
You would rather have your spare resource. If you have a spare resource, it's normally in the form of a blue, so you would rather have it be like Emberblade bust for a Frostbite than Kodachi bust through a Frostbite, in my opinion.
Doesn't Masculine Momentum gain value if you start playing Frostbite and the Kodachis don't? Now they can.
Not into Icelander, I don't think. I think the fact of the matter is Icelander always kind of had the Kano problem in a sense of like, well, you already start the game at 36, but you secretly start at 30 because the Mask of the Pouncing Lynx is in play and it will hit a Lava Burst at some point. Sometimes you'll start at 29 because it hits a Lava Burst during an Art War turn or off of a Shuko or whatever. And you can't afford to start in Kano's Life Turtle against Fi and win the game very often. It's kind of what Stormstriders lets you do. I think the second you wear Mask of Momentum into Icelander, they're ecstatic about it because they actually have 36 life to play with.
That's reasonable. I mean, I wonder how much it changes the list and what people are going to try now. Both how people are going to approach Icelander and how Icelander has to react to that. Because the amount of times
I think Icelander just got
bolters to a Hypothermia is ridiculous.
Yeah, so for me, Icelander was the kingpin of being the deck that had like the most 50-50 matchups in the format right now. Like even the matchups you didn't want to see, your Dromais and stuff, like they were bad for you. They were still super winnable, like super winnable because you just had a very powerful, proactive game plan with relevant disruption against basically everyone. And you've lost a lot of that relevant disruption against Dash and Briar, and to an extent, other aggro decks like random Katsus, and even Fi to an extent. Hypothermia is not even that good against Fi, but the fact they know that the sword swing is always free now and they can't be punished for it outside of the Blizzard is quite a big deal. And so all those matchups just got significantly worse. The Amulet of Ice hit, I actually think is... Oh, that's a big deal. I don't think people realize straight away how problematic this is going to be. And this is coming from the guy that like notoriously only runs 2 amulets in my Icelander lists because I hate drawing multiples that can't block at the same time. But not being able to regain tempo off of an Ice Vein turn without establishing an Insidious Chill first is like game warpingly bad. Like there are so many matchups where you needed to be able to go play Amulet from Arsenal in my turn, Ice Vein you, strip 2 cards, or like 3 cards to get tempo back to start playing the game you actually want to play, that you now cannot do without Amulet of Ice. And then the Icelander Mirror gets, like, your chills become so ungodly valuable because you don't have amulets to pick an endgame fight with each other to try and strip each other's hands. So it's kind of huge there as well. I know some people loved Amulet of Ice into Fi, even though it didn't block, because they liked being able to find that tempo turn to strip the hand away. You now don't have that. You have to try and set up Insidious Chill if that's the game plan you want, which is just not going to happen. And you just don't have these redundant Insidious Chills anymore. Like, Chill is not optional. Like, you want it to be in spots where you can fuse aggressively because the amulets will bail you out in the late game if you're going for a late game kill. You can't do that now. You can't just set up a chill and use it willy-nilly. Like, you're going to have to set up a chill and be very careful about when you fuse stuff to use your charges because you know there is no backup versions of that effect. I think the amulet hit is more close to a Pulse of Eisenloft ban than people thought it was.
That's interesting. So obviously Hypothermia is the thing that's really damaged Dory. Like, looking from my perspective, and I assume always he's going to come in against Fi Dash. Like I say, now that they've, like I say, outside of what Blizzard is probably the only real disruption outside. Like I say,
I actually think Blizzard's stock goes way up now because people will play around it less.
Yeah.
Beforehand, you had hands where it was like, well, I play around taking Arcane and Hypothermia and Blizzard by doing this line, and I'm weak to all 3 of those things if I take the other line. Now it will be like, well, I don't actually care about Arcane damage, and the only punish is Blizzard, so I'm going to go for the more high roll line because it's way harder for me to get punished. Which I think for the most part is going to pay off handsomely for you most of the time when the Blizzard isn't there, which means that you will, in fact, catch people with their hands, up their arse when the Blizzard is there. So yeah.
I'm looking forward to that, and then I can already see the sadness in his eyes, and it makes me so happy. We have 5 more days of.
You're a sadistic fuck.
Oh, I am, and I love it. 5 more days of Frosty 1 for 4.
I'm going to miss that so much.
Yeah, there's no cubes in the future, Liam. I'm sorry to
I
break
can't
it
say
here.
that anymore, can I? Oh, that's so bad.
That's it.
I mean, like, I've had conversation with you guys and saying that I think that Winter Whale's like the best weapon in the game. I just didn't think they were going to ban it after we spent all this time with fucking Rosetta-thon.
Yeah.
So it caught me off guard. Everyone was celebrating around me while I got a bit depressed, which was just fair. I think Aldin's caused people enough pain, I suppose. But
I'm not sure I would call that fair. People are dickheads, but anyway.
That's these guys.
Yeah.
We are, to be fair. We are,
They fully acknowledge it. Like,
yeah, we're aware. We're aware.
But when you buy
we've ribbed George about Ball Lightning enough. It goes both ways.
Exactly. This is my time.
See, this is why she play a hero where it isn't good enough to get a ban.
God,
that's
so
horrible
sad.
logic.
So sad.
They can't ban my favourite cards if the deck I play is shit.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, they can. I'm sorry to break it to you. They still can.
Oh, George. The king of collateral damage.
Yes.
So painfully true. I'm so sorry.
I can't believe you'd stand here. You'd still sit here and say this to me. It hurts.
So go on, Liam. How are you feeling?
Going back to the Winter's Well ban, I think it's actually going to put Aldim into a position where people actually don't want it, which is the life game version, the full fatigue version.
I think this is such a mistake. For the record, I genuinely think this is a horrible ban.
Like, I think Winter's Well is a big ban, and it was that big that people were in the Aldim chat. Like, they would swap Crown of Seeds to get their hammer back. So, like, ban Crown of Seeds, let them have Winter's Well back. That's how big the ban was. But now, I think you just force Aldim off like a lot of ice cards because none of them cost 3 because the only weapon they can now play is Titan's Fist if they want to play a shield. And They just play like Crown of Seeds. They just play a full fatigue version with fucking healing balms and shit, and everyone's gonna get fucking miserable and wish that they had Winter's War back.
That's when Viserai comes around with his Reaping Blade saying, "No heal."
Maybe.
No,
maybe,
it
maybe.
isn't, because that deck doesn't beat fucking anybody else.
This is true. That is already 0-3, and at the bottom of the bracket, sadly. So
Look, I think okay, this is going to be maybe a bit controversial, but like the post from the ban list update. First of all, full credit to Brian Gottlieb and how transparent and clear LSS have been with this update and their thought process. I love to see that. Makes things a lot easier to understand. But we have a fundamental problem with the attachment of players to their legendaries and the fact that's deemed to be an important journey. I think that's okay. It's really cool they don't want to be banning expensive cards people have put their heart and soul into, their money into, and stuff. But if that's what you want, you can't keep designing these legendaries that teeter on the line of game breaking, right? Even if Crown of Seeds isn't too good, the argument will always be there that it is. Even if Stalagmite isn't too good, the argument will be there that it is. Tunics, fucking every other legendary you want to name. Like, we can't ban around these cards forever if they're the problem cards. But that is what's happening at the moment because they really don't want to ban Crown of Seeds. They don't want to ban Stalagmite. They don't want to ban Rampart. So they have to hit something else. And at that point, what do you hit? So they have to take the weapon away. Like, nothing else makes any sense. There's no card in Oldhim that is, like, so defining to that deck at this point in the actual main deck that changes things noticeably. You've already lost Oakenhold from the fact the pulse isn't there anymore. So when you don't want to ban legendaries and there's no defining card, there's only one choice left, but this now forces the deck to go into the direction that everyone would rather it didn't in the first place. All because they won't ban a legendary. And again, for the record, I really like that concept of caring about not banning legendaries and not punking people for spending money on stuff. But if you want that, you can't be designing the legendaries that you currently are.
No, it was interesting reading their thought process, like say how they wanted to do that. I mean, also the fact that this is now the second Majestic weapon out of Tails that's been banned, and I think
fucking Stainer was set.
I know.
Good lord.
I mean, they said they pushed the power level.
Sorry, Voltaire.
Past it too
Like,
far.
Voltaire's on the way out next. Sorry, it's just.
oh no more, please, please stop.
But the thing that I struggle with a little bit with this ban as well. I mean, not that I don't know what you hit with Oldhim. I thought they were going to do Crown of Seeds, but I did think they wouldn't ban a legendary. There was the Winter's Well was no more egregious than Rosetta-thon.
I mean,
I don't even think it's as egregious as Rosetta-thon, honestly.
I don't think that's necessarily not an argument for it to be banned, though, right? I mean, Rosetta should have been on the chopping block a long time ago.
But when they were looking at when Briar was smashing everyone left, right, and centre, there was no. They didn't really hit. Even think.
Yeah,
about
because
actually
again, Briar had non-legendaries to take out.
Yeah,
they went with the errata route
instead.
instead.
They got rid of the skeleton, didn't they?
Took out Skeleta and chose to errata the hero. But
and Ball Lightning,
this is the issue, right? Yeah, but obviously Ball Lightning originally, when we're talking like OG Lightning Briar, but this is a problem, and I'm it's something I'm genuinely super concerned about. Like, you cannot ban around legendaries forever. Like, not if you're going to keep printing very, very good ones, because eventually you just end up creating these piles of good on-rate generics that everyone's going to play, regardless of class, because you've taken away like their class identity, their weapons, their the things that make them unique, because you're trying to avoid banning clearly problematic cards. And it's a real concern. Like, no one had turned around to me and said that Winter's Wail is a problem, or like that I hate this card that exists. It's basically a Romping Club with upside, and Romping Club's a fucking good weapon, but has it ever been problematic? No, not even close.
Nope.
Like, you basically spend an extra resource so that your Romping Club gives a frostbite. Sure, no big deal whatsoever. Like, so if we're looking at that card as being ban worthy, this is not the ban list that's happening now isn't the ban list of a normal game. Ban lists are supposed to be lists of cards that are too good to see play in the game because they're causing fundamental problems. That's not what happened to Winter's Whale. That card isn't too good. What happened was Oldhim is fundamentally problematic right now, and we need to do something to fix that. That's not what a ban list should be. That's what Living Legend is for, to let heroes rotate out and go into the sunset. If the hero is problematic, not a card. The truth is, the cards that are problematic are the legendaries they do not want to ban, and they've tried to split the difference and ended up with the worst of both worlds.
I think
Yeah,
we've also
at the end
said
of the day, sooner or later, we're going to end up in the same position where people are going to be calling for Crown of Seeds to be banned again, and I don't think that problem's going to go away.
No, especially if there's not a
cards
playable
just
Earth hero, you know? Like, I've said this before, we eventually, Final Spring Tunic has to go. Like, maybe not now, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not anytime soon. Might be 3, 4, 5 years down the line, right? But fundamentally, it is an insane chess piece that one of two things happens. Either you print something that is better than it, and we have this problem times 10 because you have a ridiculous legendary they refuse to ban that is even better than a Spring Tunic, or everyone keeps playing a Spring Tunic for the rest of time as their chess piece because they refuse to ban a legendary, and there's nothing you can do as a class-specific card that is better than a Tunic that doesn't cause the exact same problem.
So what is the right power level, do you think, for a legendary as an example that we've got at the moment?
If you want examples of legendaries I think are spot on, I want more cards like Black Tech Whisperers, New Horizons, you know, these style of cards, than I want Storm Striders and Crown of Seeds. Like, if you want to have this policy that you do not want to be banning legendaries, you can't build the hero around the legendary. Like, Black Tech Whisperers is good in Assassin. Is it necessary? Is it fuck? The fatigue lists that are having success right now basically use it as an Iron Rot legs, truth be told. Nearly always. There's occasionally recursible, but they would much rather rebuy the mask, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you look at a card like New Horizons, we've got Ranger decks that don't play it. There's a horrible downside to blocking with the thing in exchange for having a second Arsenal slot. And it's flexible enough. You can play it in Azalea. You can play it in Lexi. The hero is not fundamentally built around the equipment piece. When you look at cards like Storm Striders, when you look at cards like Crown of Seeds, these are cards the hero does not work without, as proved by Kano in Blitz, just being completely fucking unplayable the second they took his shoes away. Like, if you want to be at a point where you do not want to ban legendaries because you don't want to screw people out of money and attachment, they cannot be hero-defining cards. Because at that point, you're refusing to ban the hero, and that's a problem.
I mean, the weapons are almost as defining to the heroes as some of the elves are. I mean, that's why they're almost paired to some extent.
So the thing is, Winter's Whale isn't, though. This is my point. Like, Winter's Whale has died for the sins of other cards because they don't want to ban the legendaries, but they want to hit Oldhim. And again, Liam, by all means, correct me if I'm wrong, right? There's not a single thing in Oldhim's main deck right now you could ban that fundamentally changes that hero beyond recognition.
Is there any specific cards that changes it? I don't think so. No, I don't think there's a card in the deck that's like making the deck broken. If that makes sense. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, what do if I ban Spinal Crush, maybe that's about as far as it goes, right?
No, like if you ban Spinal Crush, we just run something else that does a similar job.
It's just another big attack, right? It's you play something else that's good into aggro.
I mean, something you said before, Scott. The other thing they've got is, like, say, in terms of blockable, bannable cards, the amount of playable blue block threes, they can just replace that with another blue block.
They're all replaceable.
The biggest, the probably the only card that isn't replaceable in Oldhim is CLF.
Yeah, and the thing is, of course, at that point, that's the Icelander hit too, and so like Hypothermia has to stay, right?
I mean that hits pretty much every, like, that hits so many other heroes as well, right? You know, I mean,
yeah. And again, this is the problem. That the question they got asked was, Oldhim is converting too much. How do we affect Oldhim? And you left yourself where the only main deck choices made the things that beat Oldhim worse as well. And so you don't fix the problem, you just make Phi better, who still loses to Oldhim. Like, So you have to try and find something, some shit-ass combination of card that only affects Oldhim without banning a legendary. And there was only one option, and that card's not a problem. Like, if you look at the other cards on the ban list and compare them in power level to each other, Winter's Wail does not belong. And I can't believe I'm saying that because I've died to it a number of times. But the card was fine. There was no issue with Winter's Wail.
The card is definitely very, very good. Like, but is it ban worthy? And I think what surprises me about this is the fact that it's banned, not suspended. The fact that this is, in theory, gone and never coming back. I mean, they did say in the article that that obviously that they wouldn't necessarily be gone forever. That they will reassess bans in the future. But this isn't coming back anytime soon. This isn't, we're going to try this, see how it affects the meta. This does seem like they're just trying to remove this. So they've obviously decided it's
anyone who
really
wants
pushed
the
the
argument
boundaries.
that Winter's Wail is a problem, it was fine for Starvo.
Yeah.
I could pulse of Volthaven that fucking weapon, and it wasn't an issue. Why is it a problem now?
It surprised me. I mean, obviously, outside of laughing and joking at Liam at the time, I was really surprised that's what they hit. But again, like you said, it should have been Crown of Seeds.
Yeah, for sure.
But like I say, I've always thought. I mean,
I'd have taken Stalagmite.
Yeah.
Like, we all know how I feel about Stalagmite, personal biases aside or otherwise. Like, I also think that one is fundamentally problematic for the reasons why you would play Oldhim over Bravo. But again, the same problem there. It's another legendary. It falls into the same category. It will not get touched while that rule remains in place.
Yeah. I mean, I think we had this discussion the last time we discussed bans on the podcast, and I think even then we were members trying to say that they should ban Crown of Seeds, but I don't think they'll have the guts to ban a legendary, and I don't think they're going to anytime soon. If we're in this situation now and they're not willing to pull the trigger on it,
honestly, I think the main reason why they won't ban Crown of Seeds is because you're basically Bravo at that point. So there's no difference between Bravo and Oldhim at that point, because then you're taking away like Oldhim's best legendary, and then it just becomes like Bravo with Winter's Wail and a shield, and it's like
that's exactly my point, though, right? Like, again, we built the hero around this legendary, which is completely fine if you're willing to take problems away when you do that, but
then also, like, that's fixable, right? You just give him something new.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, sure. Does it mean that he becomes a bit too like Bravo? Yeah, I mean, you've still, if you just take away Crown of Seeds, you've still got Stalagmite, you've still got his inbuilt defense reaction. Yes, he definitely loses some ground, but you also then have the design space to give him something new that isn't broken. I just
the other option is always
surely that's what
right?
supplementary sets are for.
I mean, you look at how they did the supplementary set and what Guardian got, which was pretty minimal in Dynasty, because it was all designed around, shield, wall, shield, bash, whatever it was.
I mean, they got fucking nothing in Dynasty apart from
Exactly.
Blessing of Patience, which is literally in the live game deck and only in the live game deck.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I was as glad as anybody to not see them get anything in Dynasty, just because I don't think they needed it. I think they'd had enough support set after set. I think that's fine. But I do think they're skirting a bit close to the edge with a highly defensive life game build that is a worrying sentiment. And like you say, this ban might be what pushes people towards it. I'm glad to see Oldhim get hit with something. I don't necessarily think it's the right hit.
It just should have been CLF. And that's coming from the Iyslander player. Like, just take it from us both. It's fine.
I think if CLF had gone...
There's a third ice hero, Scott.
Yeah, but my point is, you still lost like Amulet and stuff in that case, right?
Yeah,
like,
no, CLF.
If you don't lose those instead, obviously CLF's insane, right? But we said this the last time we talked about bans. That card is also on borrowed time. It has the surgical extraction problem of the blue that will be in every ice deck for the rest of time.
Yeah,
because it's fundamentally insane.
Honestly, in Legacy, it would be more the fact that it's a blue block 3 that's an ice cut.
For sure.
Yeah.
But that again, as you say with Crown of Seeds, that's way more replaceable, right? Just
in theory,
a blue ice block 3 that doesn't suck, and you'll be fine.
Exactly.
A
playable one.
It's another one of those cards you look at and go, eventually, in 5 years' time, this thing is going to be a problem because it will be in every ice deck for the rest of time.
It's something to hopefully look at with future card design. Like I say, the other option is the errata cards. I'm not particularly a fan of erratas.
No. You really want to stay away from that if you can. It's so unfriendly to new players and only really works in the digital space. Like, you really don't want to do that.
Yeah, I think I'd sooner see them ban the card and print something in a supplementary set to fill the same kind of niche, really. I think that'd be better than having them errata, because having to try and explain to somebody that this card doesn't do what it says on the card is never an easy spot to be in. It's not easy for anybody.
I guess the last thing I'll stick on the record here is, like, I have been wrong about LSS's banning psychology before. I didn't think Pulse was going to be that impactful straight away, and it turned out to be the actual perfect ban. Like, literally the perfect hit to change what they wanted to change about Oldhim at the time. And was very, very clever and very, very well put together. So I'm not gonna suddenly stop playing and not see whether or not what they've done has made sense or anything. But I guess I'm just upset because I thought the metagame was quite healthy at the moment. I didn't think it was particularly interesting necessarily. Maybe it was a bit stagnant while we were waiting for outsiders. But fundamentally, it was a healthy metagame and nothing felt like it needed to be adjusted. And this felt very, very rushed, very snap judgment based on the first week of conversion data, and it feels like a rush decision in every aspect as a result of that. And I'm really hoping they prove me wrong again.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm glad that Belittle's got banned, and I think once you hit that, you probably want to hit some on the other side. I think Winter's Whale might be a step too far on that one. The card is obviously very good, but I don't think it needed to be the one that was hit here.
If they'd done Belittle on one side and CLF on the other, I don't think anybody can play. But I actually agree with Scott. If they'd not done anything, waited for outsiders to come out. I mean, like I say, Belittle was always been on borrowed time. I think Falk said that after he won PT2. How many months ago?
Yeah, I just can't sit here and say that I don't think Belittle should have been banned in this one, because I think it should have gone like 2 banned and restricted lists to go.
For sure.
But like you say, I think you've got to take something from the other side once you do.
I think it's so curious that hypothermia is more problematic in their eyes than CLF is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know the argument as to why it wasn't CLF, because it is interesting. I think that CLF, at least as far as I know, wasn't mentioned in this article as one in their consideration.
They only mentioned Crown of Seeds, and that was the whole.
Yeah, but obviously they mentioned stuff like Insidious Chill. So whether it's the fact that particularly they're looking at it from an Icelander's perspective, that CLF obviously does cost you something to try and actually set up and bring out, but the payoff in that is so huge. So I like I said, I don't know. I think it's interesting that they didn't mention that at all.
Yeah, for sure. Again, hoping I'm wrong. Hoping I'm absolutely full of shit like I am on a regular basis, because
I think it's a good point. The Pulse was perfect last time, so I think giving them the benefit of the doubt is a good spot to be in, because they got it absolutely right. And I was wrong about that
for a fucking reason, right? And they've got it right many times in the past. So I'll reserve judgment until I'm losing to an Oldhim who's on 53 health, or dying to Fi on turn 3. Then maybe I'll have a problem.
Cool. And I think the last bit of news really that we've had was obviously History Pack 2's been announced.
Indeed.
So I think that's later this year. And we get Blitz decks for all the original heroes outside the ones we're going to get in Outsiders.
Marvel Bolton Pog.
Yeah, they've not announced what's in them. There's no Marvels in the History Pack 2.
There's no way they're not in Black Label. They've
already said that there's no Marvels.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a shame. Okay. It's a real shame.
There are
fair play to them for getting the product caught up, because it looks like from Outsiders forward they are releasing in every language simultaneously. So I imagine History Pack stops existing in the way that it does currently at that point. At least Black Label stops existing.
There shouldn't be any need for the Black Label anymore from after this one, like you say. So whether we see a difference in the change in the History Pack, I don't know.
Should be caught up, but I mean, maybe that opens up design space for these marbles to end up in products originally instead. We'll see.
But like I say, glad that's coming out. Obviously, there'll be some more foreign language stuff happening, I assume, with obviously the Fab to Japan stuff.
Late 2023 we get Japanese cards. Sorry, late 2024. Sorry, not this year. it's a whole year away until we actually get Japanese language cards because I'm quite excited
It's actually
about
that far away, goodness me.
Yeah, but they get
past
they're getting Premier OP events by the close.
They are. They're rolling out a chunk of stuff this year, including distribution, potentially calling some Premier events for their nationals and stuff. But by the time that you're looking at localized languages, it should be Q4 2024.
And I'd rather they took their time, considering. Although to be fair, it's still one of my favourite moments trying to work out what Visiatronic did in German.
Yep. Yeah, I had a similar story recently, actually, with I think it's the Ranger Arms or something. I think it's Bullseye Bracers that's got it's the word that is translated into in French is actually a different French word. It's for like running, as opposed, and it's like it just means something else entirely. And we were like, why would you have Ranger being running? And they were like, yeah, running away from those fucking living legend points. What? And I was like, this is fantastic. But yeah, that they were horribly translated over for the most part. So take all the time you need to fucking get it right, as far as I'm concerned.
That's the thing. I think once Fab hits Japan and obviously some of the reputation they've had for card games in the past, it's something they really should get right.
For sure. And I will be buying plenty of Japanese cards because I'm a sucker for that stuff. So.
But no, I think other than that, gents, I think we've pretty much wrapped up all the Ds from the last month.
It's been a busy month for Flesh and Blood. To be fair, after obviously getting back from the Christmas break and not having anything, all of a sudden it's been all go again, which has been good. To be fair,
get it because it's go again.
Yes,
the pun. I like the pun. The pun's good. But to be fair, it'll be shockingly stark again when in a week's time we're done until March.
We've got skirmish season, haven't we?
Yeah, not for a long time. That's once Outsiders comes out, right? I think the next thing is.
I thought there was one before then.
If you want the secret spice on the skirmish season, by the way, this is one that I'll go on the record for. So apparently the cold foil is in an envelope, right? It's in an LSS envelope. That's never happened for a skirmish season before, and we know the cold foil is Azalea. So why are they hiding it?
Ooh, spicy! I did wonder that when I saw the poster. I was like, why have they done? They've literally it's the Arcane Heroes, and then I don't know if that was just say it's random.
We know the cold foil is one of two cards, and one of them is Azalea, but they won't show us the image.
Or are you thinking it's a bait and switch?
Why are you doing this to me, Scott? I've just come to terms with the fact.
Stay tuned.
Oh, the tease. And I think on that bombshell, I think we're done. Video works, so I think unfortunately for anyone who has stuck around, there will be more of our faces. I mean, obviously, Liam, we were going to do a deck tech for Oldham, but you haven't got Winter's Whale anymore, so that's probably...
Outdated.
Why do you keep taking the shot, dude? Oh, we'd have given you a deck tech, but they fucking banned it, so sorry.
The amount of times that Oldham has hurt me in ways that I didn't want to be hurt, I'm quite happy doing.
The deck tech was your idea.
I know it wasn't. Then LSS said otherwise.
You got a tip from LSS. He just set you up for this entire thing. That's all it is. He knew it was coming.
Well, no, I think our plan is to try and do some more videos and more video content. So if you don't like our faces, we'll still be putting this on Spotify. And if you do like them for some reason, hopefully you'll be seeing a lot more of it in the future. But I think, other than that, gents, thank you very much.
Pleasure as always.
Shit. And catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.